Hello everyone. So we will look at the World Trade Organization. We will be covering what is WTO, the core functions of WTO and the activities of WTO. The World Trade Organization was earlier known as the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. Thus, it came into being in the year 1947. Under the Uruguay round in the year 1994, it was decided that GATT will be replaced with WTO, and so in the year 1995 WTO came into being. So the era between 1948 to 1994 is known as GATT period, and during this GATT period various countries like US, China experienced a massive growth in their international trade. The basic difference between GATT and WTO was the reason why GATT was replaced with WTO. GATT dealt only in goods. So the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff was dealing only in trade in goods, whereas WTO covers a wider area because WTO deals with trade in goods, services and the intellectual property. For the intellectual property, there is a TRIPS agreement which all the member countries have to implement, but there are concessions which are given to developing and the underdeveloped country. Thus, the primary aim of the WTO is to open trade for the benefit of all the member countries of WTO, and presently World Trade Organization has 164 member countries. Talking about the core functions of WTO. First, to administer the trade agreement of member countries. So whenever member countries form a trade agreement, the WTO reviews their trade agreement. WTO also review their trade policy, and in case if either of the trade policy or trade agreement is restricting the international trade, then WTO raises their objection. Apart from this, there is an MFN status or an MFN clause. So MFN clause requires that a country to provide any concession, privilege or immunity granted to one nation in a trade agreement to all the WTO member countries. Thus, from the name itself, MFN, the most favored nation, it implies that it is favoring favoritism, but it is actually aiming for equal treatment of all the member countries. The second crucial function of WTO is to settle the trade dispute. WTO provides a platform for negotiation so that trade disputes between the member countries can be solved. For instance, the India-Brazil sugarcane subsidy dispute, which is pending in the Dispute Settlement Board. Under the MFN status, you can relate this that recently India revoked the MFN status given to Pakistan, whereas Pakistan has never given MFN status to India. The third crucial function of WTO is to review the trade policy of the member countries. The WTO reviews the trade policy of the member countries through trade policy review reports. These TPR reports are very crucial because it gives certain information like the foreign trade policy review of the country, the schemes which are available for the exporters and the importers, the subsidies which are given to the exporters, importers, the domestic industries which are actually giving rise to the international trade, or the incentives which are available for the producers. Thus, these TPR reports are released for all the member countries and are very crucial. The fourth crucial function of WTO is to cooperate with the international organization. We know that WTO is not a UN specialized agency, but still it does meeting with the UN. It takes part in the top level meetings of the United Nations. Apart from this, it also conducts meeting with the international organization like International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the World Economic Forum, etc. The primary purpose of all of these is to foster international growth and international cooperation. The fifth crucial function of WTO is to build trade capacity. As we know that various underdeveloping countries and the developing countries which are part of WTO lack certain things which are restricting their participation in the international trade. So, WTO provides them certain form of assistance. Like WTO provides them trainings, it conducts workshops for them so that the officials in those countries can be equipped with the necessary skills. It also provides certain departmental and technical assistance. Let us have a look at the main activities of WTO. First, to reduce and eliminate the barriers to trade. WTO studies the trade agreement. Actually, it studies the international market and it comes up with its own report. And whenever WTO finds that certain things are there in the market which are restricting the trade, then WTO eliminates it or either prohibits it. For instance, under the Uruguay round, WTO prohibited the imposition of import quotas. And we have covered this import quota in my previous video. The second crucial activity of WTO is to get the non-member countries on board. As we have seen that WTO presently has 164 member countries, whereas the United Nations has more than 193 plus member countries. Thus, still a couple of countries are not part of WTO, so it becomes very, very important that such countries which are not member countries of WTO should come and join WTO, and then only international trade can be streamlined in a true manner. The third crucial function of WTO is to stimulate economic growth and employment. Economic growth and employment is the crucial aim of the WTO because WTO always try to remove the barriers to the trade so that employment opportunities across the globe can be increased and economic growth of all the member countries can be increased. Thus, WTO, by eliminating the barriers to trade, stimulates economic growth and employment. The fourth crucial function of WTO is to cut the cost of doing business internationally. This is also achieved by reducing and eliminating the barriers to trade. Apart from this, through MFN status, the cost of doing business have also come down. Apart from this, by streamlining the international trade, the WTO has in large cut the cost of doing business internationally. So all the functions which WTO does have a direct bearing on the cost of doing business. The fifth crucial function of WTO is to ensure that trade is taking place as per the rules, regulation and norms of the WTO, which all the member countries have agreed upon. In case if the member countries are not following the WTO rules and regulation, if they are violating, then a dispute under the dispute settlement board, a complaint or a grievance can be raised against a particular member countries. So this is about World Trade Organization. First, how many member countries are there in the World Trade Organization? Here we have already seen in the previous slide that WTO has 164 member countries. The second question is, which of the following institutions is not part of the World Bank community? Now, we know that WTO is not part of the World Bank. WTO is a separate international organization. Thus, the correct answer will be World Trade Organization. Whereas the IDA, IFC, which is International Finance Corporation, and IBRD are all three part of the World Bank community. So, World Bank has actually 5 institutions. One is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which is IBRD, then International Development Association, which is IDA, then International Finance Corporation, which is option number D, IFC, and 2 more are there, which is Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency and International Center for Settlement of Investment Dispute. So, WTO is not part of World Bank community. Question is, which of the following is not the objective of WTO? So option first is to improve the standard of living of people of the member countries. Yes, this is the objective of WTO. Option B, to enlarge production and trade of goods. Yes, we have seen that this is also an objective of WTO. To protect the environment. Here you can relate the sanitary and the phytosanitary measures which are in the international trade, and we have already covered this in my previous video. The fourth option is to improve the balance of payment situation of member countries. This is wrong because this is the function and the objective of the International Monetary Fund, because you have to remember that WTO deals with trade in goods, services and the intellectual property. So thank you.